All right, guys, Mitch from iMove Physio. I am here at CrossFit 129 in Padstow to do a CrossFit Opens 18.1 warm-up video. So I've written a fairly comprehensive warm-up, including a general tissue prep and movement prep. The workout, 20-minute AMRAP of toes to bar, single arm dumbbell, hang power clean, and rowers. So there's a couple of movements in there that everyone's pretty familiar with, but if the connection drops out, just let me know. Hey Stacky. So this warm-up that I've written is a general warm-up as well as just some tissue and range of motion prep to try and give you that little bit of extra movement, mainly through your shoulders, because that's where most of this workout's going to be taxing for a lot of people, and then just some movement prep to get your body ready to handle that single arm dumbbell. So this warm-up should take anywhere between 8 to 12 minutes. I would suggest that if you're quite tight through the shoulder, or you've had shoulder issues before, or you're just someone who doesn't have a lot of range of motion, spend a little bit more time on the tissue prep stuff just to give you that little bit more movement. But I really like the order of just... So I will flip the camera and I'll show you guys what I've written here. So we've got the first part, which is just general pacing, 4 rounds. Now you can change it depending on how you feel and do more or less, depending on how much you really want to give yourself a go. Sup brother, how many do you think the average CrossFitter will get through on 18.1? Good question, risky I think. The top athletes will probably be getting somewhere around 13, 14. You might see someone get through maybe a bit more than what Sam Briggs did. I think your average CrossFitter, if they're trying to do RX and they're a decent sized athlete, so they're not super big and they're not super small, so they're sort of that average sort of size, 10 to 11 rounds is pretty good. I think if you're getting through 7 or 8, you're doing quite well. The grip strength and the toes to bar is going to get a lot of people. But this general warm-up is 30 seconds row with a 20-second rest. So the idea of this is every round you increase the pace. So the first round you go nice and slow, second round a little bit harder, third round you go quite fast, and the fourth round hard as possible. The reason for this is you need to know what pace is too fast and what pace you attain for 20 minutes of exercise. And it's also good to practice a couple of little tips that are going to help. So I'm just going to show you a couple of little things on the roller that are going to help with this. I'm going to put a shortened version of the basic movements and the whiteboard on Instagram, but for those of you that want to know how this is going to work, this is what I reckon, just watch through and do it. So the rower is going to be the thing that really gasses people. The ability to pull quite hard on the rower is going to be dictated on your power output, but this is also a size thing. So the guys and girls that are usually really good on the roller usually struggle with the toes to bar. So the two movements are really going to counteract each other. So you want to make sure that the rower isn't affecting your toes to bar and vice versa with the toes to bar with the row. So my main tip with this is don't let this particular piece of equipment affect your grip. Okay? A lot of people grip and pull with their upper body, they pull with their bicep. You're going to need that for the kipping on the toes to bar, and you're going to need that for this sucker and getting it overhead. So you want to relax that stuff. So when you're rowing, the first round, you just want to really focus on having a relaxed grip. So generally I like try and keep my fingers nice and relaxed as I pull, and then as I come back, I actually move my hands to the side. So I'm actually getting the handle on the palm of my hand, and I'm relaxing like that. So there's no extra unneeded grip. So it looks a little bit silly, but you'll be laughing when your grip's doing a lot better, okay? So really focus on driving through the legs, using your hips a little bit, and relaxing your grip on the way back, and a nice easy grip through here, all right? That's the first thing to practice on the rower. The second thing is to take note, and I'm just going to flip this around, is have your rower set so it says that. Calories per hour. Rowing for calories is very different than rowing for distance or for time or anything like that. So when you pull, and I'm going to try and do this with one hand because it's a bit hard, but when you pull, that number at the top, that big number, is telling you how much power output you've got. The higher that number, the more these are going to tick over, okay? So you need to know what this number is hard as possible. What you really want to take away from it is practicing relaxing your grip as you're pulling, as well as figuring out what your calorie per hour pace should be while you're doing the workout. During the workout, you're going to get off the rower and you're going to be way too tired to get on to the next movement, okay? And you don't want to be movement, boom, done, okay? So don't let the rower tax you. So you need to know what your average pace is. For me, comfortable pace for mid-workout is around the 900 to 1,000. When I start to get really tired, it's like 800. So I'm a very poor rower, but you need to know that number. So mid-workout, you know if you're pulling too hard or going too hard too early because you're a bit too keen and the adrenaline's pumping, okay? So that's how to do the first general warm-up. Just 3 to 4 rounds, I reckon 4, 30-second row, 20 seconds rest. During that rest period, you just sort of think, would I be able to maintain that pace that I just rode? What was my calorie per hour output? And do I feel fresh enough to go straight on to the next movement? Or do I feel like I'm going to have to catch my breath? Because if you feel like you're having to catch your breath, you rode too hard on the rower, and that transition time is going to kill you. All right? If you do that 10 times in your 10 rounds, and that takes away 4 seconds per round, that's 40 seconds of work you're missing out on. That's 10, 15 reps. Like that's the difference between doing well and doing very well. So that's the general warm-up. The second part is just your basic tissue range of motion prep. So you've got the heart rate up, you've got the blood pumping, muscles should be feeling a little bit looser after you do all that. Then we do some tissue prep. So if you're someone who's super flexible, you might not even really have to do too much of this. You might be able to cut that down to 1 or 2 rounds just to get into get a little bit more movement. But if you're someone like myself whose shoulder range is quite tight, you're going to want to spend some time on this. So I think anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Foam rolling your lats, I just think 15 to 20 seconds, just taking your arm through a bit of movement while you're on the foam roller, trigger pointing your pecs and your biceps, and trigger pointing your rotator cuff. So the way that I like to do this, I'm going to flip you around so I can make sure I can see what I'm doing. Foam roller. The way I would foam roll your lats is your lat is the chunky part of your armpit. And if it's quite tight, it can restrict your upper, your flexion, so your top of the overhead pressing position. So just by laying down on your lat and then bringing your elbow in as if you're in that front rack and then pressing up overhead and really trying to drive that arm back, and then even just pancaking a little bit and just finding couple of little tender spots and then just bringing it in and up. There's no real specific rule for this. Just get it moving and try and get that tissue loosened up, and you'll find that there'll be a bit of a difference. So you just spend 15, 20 seconds doing this on your right arm, then you do it on your left arm, and then pecs and biceps. Now, one of the things I really laugh about with how people release their pec is I see them get a ball, and then they do this, and they put the ball on the floor, and they lay down like this, like face on the floor. That's dumb. Just get the ball, use your hand, push it into your pec, and just roll around. If you want to, you can find a spot that's a bit sore, and just do that. That way you're not kissing the floor and getting your face and forehead all dirty. Just do this, right? Work through the pec, work through the front of the shoulder, and then work down to the bicep, okay? And just doing that on each arm, 15, 20 seconds, that'll work really, really well on each side. Again, if you're really, really tight, you might want to do this 3 or 4 times or spend a bit more time on this. So that's how I would do the pecs and the biceps, just to give your shoulders a little bit more movement, help you get that overhead position for the kipping as well as the dumbbell. And then the rotator cuff, I would use this one. You can do this on the ball, on the wall or on the floor. On the floor is going to be a little bit more intense. All we're going to do is there's a bony part of your shoulder blade that sits here. You're going to pop the ball in behind it, like that. And I like to pretend I'm the lucky cats from the Chinese restaurants that just go palm to the floor and then just a nice big wave in and out. This will help improve your external and internal rotation range, which will affect your overhead position, your front rack stability, as well as just making your shoulder feel a little bit freer and looser. So same thing, 15, 20 seconds or just 5 to 10 reps of these, pushing as hard as you feel comfortable. It should be slightly uncomfortable, not super painful. If it's really painful, you're pushing too hard, go a little bit easier, Okay, so 3 to 4 rounds, depending on how much your mobility needs it. Femoral, your lats, pecs and biceps, and your rotator cuff, so in through around your shoulder blade, anywhere back there that feels tight and sore. Okay, so once you've done that, you've gotten your heart rate up, you've practiced your rowing, your shoulders should be feeling nice and free, then we work on the actual movement and the skills of the actual workout. So I've decided to do this kettlebell because kettlebells, in my opinion, are a lot harder than the dumbbell for some of these movements. So we've picked something that's a little bit harder, you go a little bit lighter, but cool, we're back. 3 rounds. What I would do, upside down kettlebell press, kettlebell bent over rows. On the first round, you do just a 10-second hang from the chin-up bar. On the second round, do some band pulls, or if you've got a crossover symmetry or something like that. And in the last round, just do some kips, okay? Once you've done this entire warm-up, give yourself a couple of minutes. So you don't want to come straight from that movement prep and start the workout. You want to have 4 or 5 minute gap before you actually start, just so you can let your body sort of adjust and you can absorb all that information and see how you're feeling and come up with a bit of a plan or restructure your plan. And then if you have the chance, go through 1 round of each exercise that you've got to do. So do a couple of toes to bar, do a couple of hang clean and overhead press, and the rower, you don't really need to do that. You've already done that in the warm-up. So just get the hang clean and the toes to bar done. But I'm going to go through and explain this a little bit better. So the kettlebell overhead press. What I mean by upside down is normally most people when they do a kettlebell press, they go from here and they press overhead. What I mean by upside down is you want the bottom of the kettlebell facing the roof, like that. The reason I like this exercise is it challenges your stabilizers in your rotator cuff and shoulder a lot more, so it gets them moving, gets them firing. It also is a lot harder, so when you go to use the dumbbell, it feels easier. So you just go from here, and you can do it sitting, you can do it standing, you can do it kneeling, whatever position's comfortable for you. I'd say standing. I'm just doing this for easeability for the camera, and just doing 4 to 5 reps. If you can increase the weight each round, so do the first round super light, as light as you can, especially if you've never done this before. If you're really not confident with it, just stick to your normal kettlebell press from there, like that. And then if you feel confident, you can try turning it and even just holding in the front rack. I can feel my rotator cuff and shoulder working quite hard to hold it there. The idea isn't to tire your shoulders out, just get them moving and warmed up and freed, and you're like, yep, cool, my shoulder's ready to go. So you do 5 of those on each arm, then some bent over rows. Now for this one, I'll put you up here. Cool. And the thing with the single arm dumbbell hang clean, it's a mouthful, is when you come down, there's going to be the temptation of rotating and twisting. Okay? Now if you're doing that and you've already got a bit of a niggly back, and then you get on the roller and then you're doing all this flexion extension on the toes to bar, your back might get a little bit sore. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your torso nice and still. So all you're going to do for this one is you're going to bend over, so hip hinge as if you're in that hang power clean position, and you're just going to row and hold that position for 2 seconds and then down. And then hold 2 seconds and then down. And then you do that on the other side. All right? That's going to help your upper back and erectors get pretty switched on for keeping you nice and stable for the workout where you've got to do your clean and press, okay? You can do that with the dumbbell as well if you like, if you really want to get the practice of that particular movement, if you're not that familiar with it. I just like kettlebells because they're a bit more challenging, so then the dumbbell feels a bit easier. So, upside down kettlebell press, kettlebell bent over row. I'd do 5 reps on each side. If you're confident and feeling like you're ready, in each round, increase the weight to a challenging but not tiring weight. So something where, for me, this 12 kilo upside down kettlebell press is pretty challenging. I've tried the 16 before and I know it's a little bit too much. So I would stick at the 5 and the 12 just to get yourself nice and warmed up and ready to go. Give yourself a couple of minutes after you finish that. Practice some toes to bar. And that's it. Oh, and the band pulls. So all I would do for that one, just trying to figure out how to do this camera-wise. All right. So the first round, just a simple hang from the bar, just for 10 seconds. Just to get the shoulders all freed up. You can do a dead hang, or you can even just do an active hang where you're trying to pull the shoulder blades down. You can alternate between the two. Just get the shoulders firing. On the second, I'll set the thinnest band that you've got. If you don't have anything really, really thin, crossover symmetry will work quite well as well. Or you can even just grab a dowel and put a little bit of weight in the middle of the dowel and do it with that. But all we're doing is we're standing here, we're pulling the band back behind our head to simulate that overhead position and the bottom position of the kip for the toes to the bar when you're shooting your head through. Getting the shoulders ready for that, and then pulling down to our hips. Okay, here, and pulling down to your hips. Because with the toes to bar, the goal isn't to lift your toes to the bar, it's to get your, think about pulling the bar to your toes. Okay, so you're actually pulling down with your shoulders as well as getting your toes to meet. So get that nice and warmed up. And then on the third round, we would practice, I might just leave that. You might just do some kips where you hang from here, nice and compact. And if you want, you can practice getting your toes to the bar ready and tuned up there if you like. Okay, so if you're doing toes to the bar or the scaling option, it doesn't matter, you can just throw a couple in there just to warm up. Alright, so, drop this. So guys, 3 parts. General warm-up, so just getting on the roller, practicing relaxing your grip and getting an idea of what your pace is. Tissue range of motion prep, so if you're really tight and stiff, especially through your shoulders or your back, foam roll, trigger point, pecs and biceps, and rotator cuff. Then some movement prep with just some kettlebell pressing, kettlebell rows, and some hanging, pulling, and kips, okay? Good luck with it all. Post in the comments if you've got any questions or if you found it helpful, if you thought, just give me your feedback because I want to be doing this every week. And I'll be putting up a bit of a summary of this on our Instagram with just the photos and quick little videos of each exercise with the explanation on how to do it. And when you do it, post your scores. Let me know how you go. I'll be doing it tonight at 129. I'll be doing a lot of massage and physio consults down there, so if you're going to be down there tonight, come and see me. And then I'll be doing it at the end of tonight, and then I will be at CrossFit Valve next week doing the same thing, doing some massage, physio consults, and possibly doing the workout with them as well, if they'll fit me in. If not, I will fit it in somewhere else. So good luck with it all and have a great one. You.